Well, hello there, girlfriend. Ingafay here. Super excited to be with you today. I wanted to share with you another coaching girlfriend, Teresha Young. She is an accredited, certified, international, y'all, relationship master coach. And we are going to talk about how to build some lasting love. We would change the tune a little bit this time because I'm all about self care, and that's what we're going to get into today. So, without further ado, we will see you on the other side. Hey there, Teresha. I am so excited to have you here today. And before we get into our topic on how to build lasting love, we want to know the 411 about you. We want to get in your business. Tell us a little bit about you, who you serve, and how you serve them.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I will give you the 411 right now. Absolutely. So, thank you for the introduction. As you said, I am an international relationship master coach, and I primarily help singled and coupled up entrepreneurial and professional women to confidently achieve a loving relationship where they feel secure, alive, and in their feminine energy. And that's actually an acronym that stands for SAFE, because it's so fundamental that we feel safe in our relationships. It's absolutely crucial. So I strongly believe that in order to have a healthy, loving, fulfilling relationship with another person, the relationship starts with yourself. It starts with you knowing, trusting and loving yourself and fully accepting yourself too. And that can be quite challenging. However, I've helped thousands of women over the years to find a deeper understanding of themselves, to set themselves up for dating and relationship success. I must mention actually, that I am a podcast host. So I have a podcast called Real Relationship Talk, the podcast, and I launched that last year in March, where I have open, non-judgmental, heart-to-heart conversations about love, self-love, self-care, dating and relationships. And I'm actually really super excited because my most recent guest is a gentleman called Paul C. Brunson, and he is a world-renowned relationship expert and television personality. He actually co-hosts some major shows here in the UK called Married at First Sight UK. Some of you may have heard that. And also Celebs Go Dating. So a major audience that he has there. And also Oprah refers to him as saying Paul is much more than a matchmaker. So he has a working relationship with Oprah too, which is absolutely amazing. I've had so many special guests on the show, and I'm looking forward to season 4 dropping next week.
Awesome. Well, girl, you got a little something going on. I love it.
Well,
I
thank
love
you.
it. I love it. Now, Teresha, tell us about how does confidence affect romantic relationships?
It is a biggie. I mean, confidence in its entirety, when you think about it in all elements of what we do, whether that's at work, whether that's with our friends, in our relationships, is massive. Because if we don't show up as a confident person, then it really can impact on the way that we communicate. It can impact on the way that we express our authenticity. And it can actually block us from building deep connections with another person in our relationship. So when we are not a confident person, we will find that a lot of our insecurities come up, a lot of our self-doubt, a lot of our worries, a lot of maybe anxiety will show up in our relationships. So it can really affect the success of a relationship if we're not able to be a confident person in there. And there are so many reasons, Ingafay, why, for example, we may not show up as a confident person.
Wow. It's amazing how you talked about the insecurities. I guess that's kind of mind-boggling just thinking about it in itself, that lack of confidence could truly be a deal breaker in a romantic relationship. Can you expound upon that just a little bit more, just so we can get more understanding of that, how it could be a deal breaker?
So what I would say that if there is a lack of confidence in a relationship, it doesn't mean that the relationship is doomed in any effect at all. What it just means is that it's an indication for something to be worked on. So, for example, if you are finding that the reason why you are lacking confidence in a relationship is because you have some insecurities, is understanding where those insecurities have stemmed from. Now, were you a secure person before and now you're in a relationship, you have become insecure or non-secure? And why would that be? Is that because of the way that you are being treated by your partner?
Right.
For example, it could be their behavior that has left you with anxiety, or maybe even making you push away and creating distance between you. So it's really important, I think, as part of your confidence, when we start to think about our insecurities, is to understand what our attachment style is. So for those who are listening to this and not sure what attachment styles are, there is this theory that we all have a certain attachment style. Now, we can have a very secure attachment style, and these attachment styles derive from actually when we were growing up. So it's how our caregivers and our parents treated us as a very young person. Now, if you had parents who were there for you emotionally, physically, then you would probably have a secure attachment style. You're very confident in your relationships. You are into interdependence. You can have your independence, and also you can work with a partner. And then, for example, if your parent or your caregivers wasn't necessarily there for you physically or emotionally, we can develop insecure attachment styles. And we can either have an anxious disposition, whereby we might be needy, clingy, seeking for validation from another person, or we can become avoidant, where we start to push people away. We have a fear of intimacy and closeness. And then there are attachment styles that actually intertwine lots of different features, such as the avoidant and also the anxious. So understanding what your attachment style is, and you can go online, you can find attachment style quiz. It's really important, because when you are able to work on that, then you will see that, okay, then if I work on that insecurity, perhaps I may become more confident in my relationships. So really, it's some inner work, some self-reflection, and also understanding where the insecurity has derived from. Could it be your partner's behavior as well? So we need to have the global view on that.
So just when you were talking, it just made me think a little bit about this whole situation, because it seems like you would have to have confidence in yourself to even want to make the change, to go outside of your comfort zone of what you're normally doing. So how does that person, if they're struggling with being confident in their relationship, how do you get them to take the courage to want to make the change to be better?
You have to understand the reason why you want to make a change. So lots of people want to make changes, but they don't delve into why it is important to them to make the change. Because when you don't connect with the why, then you're not going to have the drive or the motivation to make the change. So for example, we need to understand what is the gain. When we stay stuck in a situation, or when we are lacking confidence, there may be something we're actually gaining from that situation, like a secondary gain or a win from that situation. So for example, if you're lacking confidence, it may mean that you now have a partner who is doing everything for you. So therefore, that's your gain. You will have a lack of confidence because you know that you've got somebody who's going to fully look after you. You've got somebody who's going to do everything, and you don't have to do much. So that could be the reason. However, we have to understand what is the pitfalls behind having a lack of confidence. And this is why when I'm working with my clients, I love to do a SWOT analysis whenever we're going to do a change. So SWOT, for those who don't understand what that is or aren't aware of it, is an acronym actually. So it's SWOT. So we look at the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities and threats for making a change. So what we then want to do is focus on what the strengths and opportunities are of actually having more confidence. So when we need to focus on what we want, what we desire, and not what we don't have. So once you start to focus on the strengths and opportunities, and you go, okay, so the power behind having confidence is it will mean that I have a deeper connection with my partner. It will mean that I am able to express myself more confidently. It means that I'll be able to be in my authenticity. So it's really important to get that clarity in order to be able to make a change and to be more confident.
So oftentimes when you work with people in this realm, how long does it normally take for them to make a change? Because I typically, when you're doing something different, that's normally the first question people want to ask you. Well, how long?
How long? How long is a piece of string? No, but
so what do you normally tell them?
Well, typically, I like to work with my clients for at least 6 weeks in order to incorporate some form of change. And that's just on a one-to-one level. So that might be one weekly session, but this is daily practice. So we can't just say we're going to have one coaching session and suddenly that's going to be enough. We have to do that consistently. We have to start creating new habits and behaviors. And that is a daily process. And it is actually an ongoing process too. So in order to have that lasting change, I would say that it at least takes at least 63 days in order
Wow.
for a new change or a new habit to happen. And that is 3 cycles of 21. There's a lot of stuff out there about how long it takes to make a change or to create a new habit. But what I've understood is that really, if you can do something for 63 days, at least 63 days, then you will start to feel more confident. But it's really important that when you are becoming confident, it's not just, for example, a coach or a therapist that you're working with, that you can have a support network too that you can go
Right.
to. So maybe there's some family, friends, or even external support groups that you can join in. There's lots of free groups online in order to be able to become more confident and to tap in with people. So there might be a particular area of your life that you want to become more confident in. For example, confidence is such a broad term, but you may be confident in some places and not in others. So you might not be confident in being able to communicate. So maybe you
Right.
join a group whereby you work on your communication skills and how to express
Right.
yourself. So it's really narrowing down what that confidence looks like and how it's showing up for you as a person.
So, how can individuals build confidence in their actual romantic relationships after they made these changes?
Yeah. So it's all about communication. So when you understand what it is that is causing a lack of confidence, it's about having that open and honest conversation with your partner to understand how they might be perceiving. They may say to you, well, that's really strange actually, because you come across as being really confident. Or
Right.
in this area, I don't see that. I see something different. So working in partnership with your partner, especially when you express that you're not feeling very confident and the reasons why, is understanding, okay, so what can we stop, start, continue doing in order to help me feel more confident? So
Right.
it may be, what I would love from you, in order to help me feel more confident would be to, and whatever it is, and then put it to the other person to say, would you be willing to do that? Is that something that you think we can do together? That's one way, is just to be very open with your partner about how you feel that they can support you. Also,
Right.
little things that you can do in partnership with your partner that can actually boost confidence and help you to feel good is to do some really good gratitude practices. Tell your partner on a regular basis what you love about them, what you appreciate about them, what you respect about them, what you admire about them. Really tap
Right.
into those areas, because sometimes we just don't hear it. We just have these relationships and they go on, but you don't communicate with your partner exactly how you feel about them. And it can
Mm.
be lovely to hear that, and it can actually help you feel much more of a confident person. And do that regularly. Regularly check in. I
Right.
am such a big advocate of having healthy dialogue about how a relationship is going. And it is, what's working for us, what isn't necessarily working for us, and be open to having that constructive feedback.
Right.
Also, being able to have shared goals, shared vision, because the relationships can become quite stale when we are doing the same thing over and over and over again. So, in order to feel more confident in a relationship and a direction, because sometimes we can lack a bit of confidence because we don't actually know where we're heading with our partner. It could be a case
Right.
of, oh, we're doing the same thing over and over again. So, sitting down and saying, so what is our vision for now, for the short term future, for the long term future? What are our goals? Can I hold you accountable? Really just being very transparent with your partner. Because what I would say, Ingafay, is that a lot of the reasons why we may lack confidence is because there's an element of a lack of trust sometimes in our
Yeah.
relationship, or a lack
Yep.
of safety, even safety. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm so keen and such a strong advocate of feeling safe in a relationship. And when we can lack some trust and some feelings of not feeling secure and safe, it can be because there's a lack of transparency in that relationship. It could be because there's a lack of consistency in that relationship. There's a lack of commitment in that relationship. So this is why it does take time to sit down as an individual to say, what is not working in this relationship? What would I like to
Right.
see doing? And this is why I love the stop, start, continue process. What could we start doing? What could we stop doing? What could we continue doing? And then
Mm.
also that other person to share their thoughts on that.
So, when you work with folks, it sounds like you work with singles as well as people that are in a relationship. I'm just curious, when you work with singles, how do you work with them if they're maybe not necessarily in a relationship, or maybe they're trying to get the courage to start a new relationship? How is that typically done?
So I actually have a framework that I use, and it's called the 4 C's blueprint. So whether you're single,
Okay.
whether you're coupled up, I love to use this framework. So the first C is courage. We look at any relationship patterns, any traumas, any situations that you need to heal from, basically, to let go. What are you carrying around with you? What's the heaviness? And we start to look at that. Usually there's a piece of forgiveness work actually to be done with my clients, because they are carrying so much, and forgiveness isn't about condoning what has happened, anybody's behavior. This is about allowing yourself to release any heaviness or any quote unquote toxic thoughts, feelings and emotions that you may be having about a situation or a person. So that's the first C, is carriage. The second C is ceremony. And this is basically where we celebrate you. We make sure that you have some good mind, body practices in place, is that you know how to breathe, because the power of the breath is huge for calming anxiety. Anxiety can impact on our confidence. So therefore, having that mindful breathing, eating right, exercising, any sort of spiritual practices that you may do, religious practices, this is all about celebration and being in a state of gratitude. Now, the third C is connection. So this is where I work with my clients, whether you're single or you're coupled up, to understand what your values are, what are your boundaries, what are your goals, what's your vision, what are you all about. Particularly if I'm working with females too, I like to understand a bit more about their feminine energy. So this is not about gender specific or be it a certain sexual orientation. This is about the energies that every single one of us carry. We have masculine energy, we have feminine energy. So I like to work with my clients, understand whether they are too much in their masculine energy, because a lot of women who are entrepreneurial women or professional women or in the corporate world, even single mummies, we tend to be in the masculine energy, which means that we are doing the fixing, we're doing the goal setting, we're out there, go-getters. And in order to receive love, we have to also balance that off with our feminine energy to allow us to receive and to take our hands into control. So I do a bit of that work too. Now, the fourth C is communication, which I'm kind of alluding to right now, where we start to look at people's communication skills and their patterns, their ability to be able to use their non-verbal cues, their ability to be able to actively listen, to deep listen, to have empathy, to understand whether you are nitpicking, to understand whether you are scorekeeping, all of these things on these communication habits that we can have. So that's the fourth C, which is communication. And also, as part of the communication, it helps you to build that intimacy with people. So some good practices that you can do for when you have your partner in the future, or whether you are with your partner now, is about understanding some of these intimate questions that you can ask and how you can create more intimacy. Because in order to have a romantic relationship and find romantic love, intimacy is a huge component of that. And we're not just talking about sexual intimacy, it's that element of closeness that you feel with somebody. So when you have that sense of intimacy and you feel that you've got a great friendship with that person, you're intimate with that person is showing up for you, there's great commitment, then that can boost your confidence tenfold.
So is that basically how couples would support each other's confidence in a romantic relationship, with those 4 C's?
Absolutely. So the way that I work with couples, I really individualize how I work with them. So whilst I have that framework, it doesn't mean that I'm saying we're going to do this week, because different things show up for different people. And that's the beauty of actually having a coach or having a therapist or whatever modality that you are seeking that help in, is that it can be tailored to you. I also have a cognitive behavioral therapy background. So I am all about understanding how the thoughts, feelings and behaviors are all interlinked and what is triggering the thoughts, because our thoughts affect our emotions, and that affects the actions that we take, and that impacts on the results that we get. So therefore, that framework is what I use, but it's very bespoke to each person, because everyone's going to show up with their own things that they're dealing with. And by having I'm able to actually see the blind spots and be able to work out, okay, did you notice this? And what have you noticed? So we can have that conversation together.
So what are some of the warning signs that let you know that the confidence is lacking in a romantic relationship?
I would say that some of the warning signs are that, firstly, you're not actually feeling a sense of closeness with your partner. When you start to feel some sort of distance, whether that is a physical distance or whether that is emotional distance, there's this theory called ambiguous loss, whereby you can be physically close to somebody but emotionally distant, or you can be emotionally close to somebody but physically distant. So we can experience this ambiguous loss when it comes to our relationships. So when you start to feel that, that's probably a good warning sign that there's some lack of confidence there, that something's not quite going right. Also, if you feel that you're not able to speak up, if there's some fear of how, for example, how your partner's going to respond, or some fear of
Right.
how you're going to express yourself, then that
Right.
is a warning sign that there's a lack of confidence there, because we have to understand
Mm.
what the fear, where the fear is deriving from. It's not always the other person. Sometimes it's just us to be understanding. A lot of our confidence runes and not being able to speak up actually and express ourselves have triggered when I'm working with people. It's something that happens to them in their childhood. It's either they were
Right.
humiliated at school by a teacher, some sort of
Right.
thing there, or they had some sort of public humiliation actually, and wasn't able to speak up, and it really dampened them. So it's understanding, okay, so what needs to be done there. So that's a sign that there's a lack of confidence when you're not feeling very close to your partner, when you don't feel that you're able to
Mm.
express yourself confidently, when you don't feel
Right.
that you are your true authentic self. Now, I know for you, Ingafay, you specialize in authenticity, like
Right.
people showing up for themselves. And if you know that you can't show up for yourself in your relationship, then how can you show up for your partner? So
Right.
it's really understanding where you feel that you're not showing up for yourself. Now, it might not just be your relationship, it might be, so a lot of it stems from our health, I have to say.
Yeah.
If we're not
Right.
feeling healthy, and that could be physical health or that could be mental health, whatever that is,
Right.
we can struggle to then show up in our relationships and have the confidence. So there's one thing that I would encourage people to do is actually look at your health, to understand, because that could be critical. There could be other things showing up. There could be financial stresses and struggles. Now, really have a look into different components of your life to understand what could be impacting on your confidence. And a
Right.
lot of it does stem from that emotional intimacy. If you're not feeling that emotional intimacy, or sometimes you don't even feel like your partner is being emotionally available for you, it's then having a conversation. So there can be those warning signs.
So, Teresha, girl, you have given us some golden nuggets here today, and I'm so excited that you were able to share with us. Now, I wanted to ask you, because you have given so much information, do you have anything that you would want to share with my audience where they could get to know you better or possibly even learn a little bit more from you?
Oh, absolutely. If you can want to know a bit more about me, I have quite a few free e-guides actually that may be of interest to you. I know Ingafay has dropped the link there. You'll be able to get some e-guides on how to avoid actually spending time with time wasters and narcissists. You can look at the 5 dating and relationship green flags for having healthy love, and also a
Okay.
really good e-guide about how to create some me time for you, to actually plan that in, because it's so important that you make time for yourself, no matter if you are in a relationship or not. So definitely check those out. Absolutely free for you. And also you'll be able to follow me on my socials, and I'm sure Ingafay will drop that somewhere around this conversation too. You can find me as Teresha
Yes.
Young.
Yes, I will definitely put that in the description of this video for sure. But before we go, girlfriend, I wanted to ask you, do you have any final thoughts that you wanted to share with my audience today?
I would say just really find ways to express your authenticity. How you show up is so important. To show up for yourself is primary, is key. It's absolutely key, so that you can show up in your relationships. So express your authenticity, find your inner confidence, and just be who you are.
Well, thank you so much for your time, girl. We sure enjoyed you today. And for those of you that are watching, thanks for watching. If you have anyone that you would love for me to interview, by all means, drop me a DM or send me something on email, and I will be sure to do my best to get that guest on the channel. But as always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.
Thank you very much.